Hi, everyone. This meeting is recorded and will be uploaded to YouTube. So last time I mentioned that I'm going to start populate the spreadsheet with planned features. The reason I'm procrastinating is because 1.19 is still in freeze, and it might stay in code freeze for a little while until most of the flakes are addressed. So we don't have any date as of now on when 1.20 will be open or basically the master will be open again for feature enhancements. And so I will try to list some stuff anyways right now. We can discuss them during the meeting. In any case, we have two items on the agenda. The first two ones that are probably going to end up as feature enhancements that we can list in the spreadsheet. So the first one is efficient requeuing. Who would like to take the lead on this, Aldo or Dingsink? Okay, I guess the guy who listed this item is not joining.
Not present.
Okay.
Okay.
But okay.
I have nothing to say. Yeah, because I was discussing with him that the main concern was the complexity, but I would like to hear his arguments to see what we can achieve.
Great. I completely agree. I think if we look at the events that we have right now that the schedule reacts to and to move unscheduled pods back into the active or back of queue, there are some events that we can actually right now like discard or basically disable. The ones that are related to services, those are necessary only for the custom plugins, the old custom plugins for services like Service Affinity, I think. And this is not even enabled by default. So I think we can simply disable those events when those plugins are not enabled. But more importantly, I think those two plugins, I don't think we should graduate them into GA. I think we should only make them available through the policy API, and they should get deprecated with the policy API. And the reason is that we already have a GA feature for those two plugins, which is pod affinity and node affinity. So we have two custom plugins called Service Affinity and node affinity, and I think node label called something like that. And I think we can claim that there are alternative GA features, which is interpod affinity and node affinity that users can use. And so we shouldn't really graduate them to GA through component config and the plugins API. But we can discuss that on a separate issue. So this is a bit tangent. The other two types of events that are causing pods to be moved is node events and pod events. For node events, I think what we can do is simply invoke the logic that kubelet invokes on nodes for admission and make a decision based on that. I think that logic is quite simple. It doesn't look at the whole cluster. It just looks at the incoming node status, basically evaluates it. And it includes checks on resources, affinity, node affinity, a couple others, maybe preemption. And so this check can be simply done there, hard-coded. And the other one is based on volumes in general, storage class, PVCs, etc. And for all of those, we can insert a check on whether the pod actually has a pod volume claim. And so, yeah, I think this approach is much more simplified, even the only drawback is that we are not going to support custom resources. So this might be the reason that people might want that generic framework.
So what you're proposing is that we react to these events and check these plugins regardless of the profile configuration.
Yeah, I think the kubelet doesn't even invoke the plugins. They invoke the fit functions there, which are, you know, their interfaces are pretty simple. Like just pass the node and the pod, and it will tell you whether the pod would have been admitted to the node or not. And so, yeah, I mean, I think we should do it regardless of the profile, because it's something that the kubelet will eventually reject anyways, even if we don't check it in the schedule.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So that's one. And the other thing is all the storage related things, like all of them, I think can be summarized with just simply checking whether the pod has a pod volume claim or not. If it does, then yeah, it makes sense to put it back. If it doesn't, then any storage-related event shouldn't move the pod back out of its unscheduled status. So that's an easier check as well, like a simple check we can do. Okay, so we will defer this. I'm going to create an item for this for further discussion. I mean, this is still open for discussion because, I mean, custom resources could still be an issue for some, but we don't support it right now anyways. The other one is related to nominated node name, the optimization that we have that been proposed. Chen or Chen? I don't, Dave, do you want to take it away?
Yes, you can just call me Dave.
Okay.
Yeah. Actually, the PR is almost done, and we just need to make sure how to deal with how to enable the feature. So out of the suggestions, we can make it as a default, but there are some corner cases which might make the selected node not the best candidate. So Huawei is okay with the option, so we can opt out and disable the feature if we want to finally find the best candidates, not just only node we can schedule. But also I noticed you have just leave a comment a couple of days before. We can just use the fetch get. So I think we can when you just need to reach a consensus on this. So we can I can give a final change and make it okay to move on. Yeah.
Right. Let me try to summarize. So the issue here that Dave is proposing is that when we evaluate a pod, before we go through all the nodes, we should check its nominated node name status. If that status is set, perhaps before going through all the nodes, we should just check that specific node first, because it was the node that was nominated in a previous cycle. There's a very high chance that this is the only node that will fit the pod, because this is what caused the pod to not be scheduled in the first place and go through preemption. But the concern here is that this could be suboptimal, because there could possibly be a case where another node has been added or a pod was deleted, and another node that better fit the pod, the incoming pod, could become available. And so there's this debate with how should we enable this feature, whether we have a flag in the component config or a feature flag. So Aldo made a comment there. I think I agree with him that like having it as a component config flag, it doesn't make a lot of sense, because people will eventually either enable this or not. It's similar to preemption. Like it didn't make sense to have a preemption enable disable flag in component config. I think it should be a feature flag. It graduates to beta. Once it graduates to beta, lots of people will use it by default, and then we will get feedback. And if this is something that most clusters don't want, then we can disable the feature, or we can revert back into having an explicit flag for it in component config.
Yeah.
Right. So between graduating from beta to GA, we could circle back and to the idea of making a configuration, right?
Exactly.
Is Wei here?
Yeah, I'm here. So even if it goes to beta, we have the chance to remove that feature gate and convert it to a component config option, right?
Yep.
Okay, that should be good. That should be good. So the discussion here is just that whether the choice is binary or not, yes or no, right? So if we go with option, even if it's GA, the user has the option to enable it or disable it. But if it goes with the feature gate, once it goes to GA, the user can only make it enabled. Yeah, that's the difference. Yeah, a little bit like you want the choice to enable preemption or not, but not exactly like preemption, because preemption you can disable all the post filter plugins, right? If we make it a feature gate or just make it default internal behavior, the user cannot be disabled there. But anyway, let's sort of make it a feature gate. At the moment, I see how the user's feedback is like, and then decide how to proceed.
Sounds good.
That's good.
Okay. Seems like everyone is happy with the fish gate right now.
Yeah.
Okay. So
So
I'm going to.
sorry, that means you would go to alpha first, then to beta, and then we decide there.
Yeah, in that case, I think we need a cap to briefly describe the whole scenario. Although it's a quite an internal behavior, I think a cap is still necessary. That's my opinion.
I'm not sure what the policy is if you require a cap for any feature gate.
Yeah, I'm not that sure either. I don't think there is a clear rule that a feature gate equals needs a cap, right? So it's a pure scheduling internal behavior. Maybe we can just bypass the cap. Not quite sure.
I mean, there's no harm in having a cap, even if it's just like
Yeah.
So it might probably like yeah, bring more feedback from others, and maybe we'll have a different decision when we write the cap.
Sounds good.
All right. So we have a profile level scheduling configuration parameters. Yuan.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can I share my screen?
Sure.
Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, so we open a issue and you should be able to see it. And so this is from yeah, Yan and myself. And also we started this discussion in the scheduled plugin and the repo. We, Abdullah and Aldo, and already provide a lot of good feedback, then suggest us just submit a proposal. So I'd like to thank everyone, and yeah, Yan is online as well. So the idea and is quite simple. So we like to, yeah, we are proposing and profile levels and parameter. So particularly and especially is this parameter and the percentage of nodes to score. Because this is a very important parameter, and we know and it could have a great impact on the performance. So in particular in large scale and clusters, by adjust the threshold of this and the parameters, and yeah, definitely it would affect the scheduling performance. So seems I think everyone and yeah, we, Abdullah, Aldo, and agree, and yeah, let's make sense and to introduce to yeah this parameter and move it inside the profile level, right? Since as our scheduling framework and support multiple profile, and if we have this at a profile level, and we believe it can better and yeah, have better customization and create yeah, easy to yeah, adjust or balance the scheduling quality and the performance. The question, I know there are some discussion, particularly between and Aldo and Abdullah, is yeah, how are we going to do it? And so basically we have two options, and of course one is we just move this and the parameter and yeah, the global one and inside the profile, and finally, and maybe in the beta, and we have both, and then finally in the GA and remove the global one and just keep the profile one. The second option is, I think maybe and yeah, more reasonable is still keep the global one, right, and have a local profile one. I personally, I think, and this of course can probably and have better compatibility and also more flexible is, yeah, if I don't want to customize any profile level, right, I can just use the global one. And if I define the profile levels parameters, and then it will override the global values. So I don't know if this is fair and summary of the discussion, Aldo and Abdullah and we, and or what is, do we have any and yeah, conclusion about what we are going to do with this, or it's to be determined? Or any?
I think it's a very good summary.
Mm-hmm.
So I think most of us inclined to go to option to have both the global and the local parameters, like you said, to
okay,
on one side simplify the configurations burden of the users who doesn't want to make change, right? They just
right,
the default
yeah,
one, and also it fits the need for advanced users who want to customize their profile level behavior. So I think it's a good way to fit those users' needs.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, how about Aldo and Abdullah talking?
Yeah, so if people don't want to configure anything, that's why we have defaulting in place, which would still happen. So the question is, when one user has more than one profile, then they want to change both, maybe. So they will have, I mean, they want to change the percentage globally, so now they have to change it for all their profiles, which it might be okay, because if someone is looking into this, they're probably already a power user. So it might be fine to just remove it, but we just need to comply with the API deprecation policy?
Yeah, firstly, I think you are right. I think that's probably in the target users will be advanced and yeah, the people who want to really customize the scheduling. So the second option, keep both, and like you mentioned, and so if we just keep the local one finally, and then the user, we could still have a default one, but for example, I want to customize it, apply to all the profiles, right? And the default so far, for example, 50%, and if I don't specify any value, if I want to change to whatever value, 100% and 20%, then I have multi profiles I have to specify, and in each of the local profiles. And but if we have both, and I could just change the global one, also, it's have probably better backward compatibility, but I'm
Right,
fine
but
with either one.
backwards compatibility is not such a big deal if you put the appropriate
maybe
release node and you keep the API working for a couple of releases. So I think it might ultimately be better to just remove the global one.
Okay.
But we have to do it as we either move to GA or as we introduce beta 2 if we foresee too many changes.
It makes sense. At least even we want finally just to keep the local one, right? As we discussed here, and for the beta and in beta, we will keep both. So that's just probably.
So correct. So for 120, you have to make option 2. That's for 120. So it's a question of what we do next. Do we want to simplify? For the power user, I think it's fine to just keep the profile ones.
Okay. Sounds good.
But we can decide that later. Anyways, in like for 120, we have to do.
Okay. Makes sense.
Well, I have some questions because you also mentioned the possibility of changing the minimum number of nodes, which is, I think, is 100 now. Oh, that's where you were going to talk next.
So now, and so far it's a constant, even not a configurable one. And so my question is, related to the percentage of nodes to score. Is do we want to introduce and other related parameters? And so this means that the feasible nodes to find probably is less and important than the second one. And, I probably didn't explicitly mention in the discussion in the issue, but I also want to mention this parameter and the feasible nodes to score. To me, this is definitely for advanced developer and who want to develop and plug in and for advanced scheduling features. So one particularly, I think this one is interesting, and we noticed 2 use cases, and I don't know the plan for the community to them. I just want to give the example. So one is, we and for me, and there are discussion around choose the better one from 2 random choices. I believe a regional idea from academic paper called Sparrow from Berkeley. So just said, if I just want to have a very high throughput scheduling and for large amount, millions, billions of the tiny jobs, so I probably just randomly choose one is too bad, right? I just randomly choose 2, and then I choose the better and between these 2. And so for this kind of thing, another example is, for example, if I specify the node name, right? I just want to schedule on this particular node, or internally, and we have some use cases because the data and the store and on certain node and already, we have to use this local and persistent volume, and so we have to schedule on that node. So for this kind of cases, and so I just wonder, and if we have a profile level, right, and the parameter, and particularly specifiers, I just want to find the 2 and physical nodes to score, or even just 1. If I find this one is the one and I really want, then of course this we can shortcut, right? Short circuit and or other the filter and the stage. And but I think Aldo and make some good and comments also concerned, said, oh, do we really want to introduce the complexity, make it hard for users to configure? So I just want to throw out why we think it might be helpful. And in particular, I think it's specified in terms of the nodes and for some use cases. So that's the idea.
I have one proposal.
Mm-hmm.
What if we just switch the constant to 2,
Mm-hmm. and
we entirely rely on the percentage that is configured on the other parameter?
Mm-hmm.
What could work? That's a question.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought of this. I just thinking because like our case, we have multiple clusters, the number of the nodes different, right? And so it's hard. So how should I specify this percentage of the nodes, right? Get exactly this 2. For example, here said minimum is 2. And I do the calculation, maybe it's round to some numbers. Yeah, but definitely it is, I think it's possible. Yeah, just to use the percentage of nodes to control it, or plus this mean feasible nodes to score. I don't think we needed this both. I just curious, maybe it would be helpful if we can specify the number of the nodes. So, and
sorry, what's the difference between these two? I didn't.
Oh, okay. So these two and originally the mean and feasible nodes to find, like specify the lower bound. So if you find 10 and for example here, if you find 200, it's fine. You are still going to use 200, right? Only if you calculate based on the percentage of the nodes, you got 99, you got the 50. So the schedule next stage, still the feasible nodes still will return the 100 feasible nodes. But this feasible nodes to score means the exact numbers that I just need the 1 feasible nodes. If you find 1 feasible node, stop and searching anymore. So 1 is lower bound. So you could still return more than this mean and the feasible nodes. I don't know if
this has been discussed before, and the exact same proposal was made to basically have an absolute value of how many nodes you want.
Yeah. That's the second one.
Which is the second one.
To me, I think the second one probably is more useful. And in this case, as I said, you use percentage to specify. It's a little bit challenging to how to control it. Also, these 2 use cases, I don't know how the generally are, but at least for us in our internal, we have some cases like this. I want to specify how many. And
I think the second option is also mentioned in HEX 106 issues that he also mentioned the Berkeley paper that used the 2 random choices. Right. Another option to simplify the configuration is that I think, so right now, the parameter we have is the percentage percentage of nodes to score, right? So that is a percentage number.
Right.
But if we think that we just need a number, no matter it's a percentage or absolute number, we can use that parameter, maybe rename a bit to represent both the semantics. Like internal, like we use the type like int or string, so that can be translated internally to represent the specific amount of nodes to score. So if you specify an absolute number, of course, that is the number we internally will use. If you use the percentage, then that will be translated a bit. So in that way, it can simplify the configuration so that we don't need 2 many parameters, just use one. It's another idea if we go with the second option, and to work with existing percentage nodes to score.
So if we do that, we would get rid of this 100 constant, right?
Yeah, if
Or-
this, we still probably have this one, but whether or not it should be a configurable or not, right? At least it should be one, right? Or whatever.
So yeah, I guess this constant makes sense if you're dealing with percentages.
But if you specify in absolute and the number, yeah. So yeah, as long as it's valid and a number, and yeah, we need a default one, right? We don't need this minimum one. Yeah. Yeah, I think we make a good point. So it's equivalent, and then this adaptive threshold, and so far used, we could definitely convert it into even the feasible nodes to score, for example, or feasible. So far, the default value of the percentage of nodes to score is 50%. Then we, based on the cluster size, right, have a simple formula and yeah, adjust that and the value and accordingly. If you don't specify it, and so similarly, and if we specify in terms of number of the nodes to find, we could do similar thing as well. If the user and don't specify it, yeah, I think that's could be something, yeah, we could do, and we just need to keep one and either percentage or number of the nodes to find. Yeah.
Should we start a cap on this as well?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so that's what I have. So
yeah, could you start a cap, and so we can like list all the possibilities and
okay, I'll do that.
discuss.
Okay.
All right. So that's all we have for. Oh, we have release blockers, integration tests. Do you want to quickly touch on that, Wei?
Yeah, I just mentioned that if you have any release blockers, you spotted any blockers, just just post it on the channel or open issue to us. So right now, Jordan Liggett opened flaky issues, including all the recently flaky integration test. Yeah, it happens to all integration tests. So I spent some time fixing them, and I hope they are clear right now. So this morning, I think the last PR went in, and the test grid looks green so far, but I will monitor that for the next couple of days. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that effort. It's pretty important. I think we as a community, we should keep an eye on on the test grid. And I don't know, I need to find out if we can set up some sort of like an automation where an issue could get created like automatically if any of our tests is flaky. Because I really didn't know that we have a flaky test like until Jordan raised an issue. And I'm wondering why this was not raised before. Yeah, so we need to figure out a way to automate all of that. Basically, reporting. We shouldn't wait until when they try to cut the release and then everything is frozen because, well, we have a bunch of flaky tests. At least for us as SIG-Scheduling, we need to make sure that all our tests are not flaky and tracked, basically.
Yeah, another thing is that, of course, I agree with I agree with Abdullah that we should have a mechanism to kind of detect these as early as possible. The other thing is that from the coding's perspective, I think these issues listed some common untyped patterns of writing tests. So if you want to improve your test quality, and this can act as example for you to check with. For example, make your subtest in your test case stateless, by not sharing some state across the different tests, as well as some other common mistakes. So if you want to check out, you can take a look at the individual issue.
Sounds good. All right. I will continue to clean up the feature sheet, and hopefully in the next 2 weeks, 120 will be open for features. And yeah, that's I guess all I have. This is all we have in the agenda. Anyone has any final comments, feedback? Great. Thank you all. See you in 2 weeks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
See you.
Bye.